Hey, choice is always good, right? What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and we've seen two LTE devices from AT&T. We've seen the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket and the HTC Vivid, which came out a few weeks ago. AT&T's bringing a third Android-powered LTE device to the market. Here's the LG Nitro HD, and it's packing a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, a true 720p HD display that's 4.5 inches in size, and an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording. Now this thing's up to date with Android 2.3.5, and it's packing LG's custom interface. But the question is, at $250, should you go with this? Should you go with the Skyrocket? Or should you go with the Vivid, which is actually $50 cheaper? We'll try and find that out in the full review of the Nitro HD. But first, some love to Best Buy because they provide us with so many phones for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy to get this, you walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, they'll get your camera settings on and ready to go, your browser settings, and more. So when you walk out that door, you're listening to your favorite music, and you're listening to your favorite music videos and things like that at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look at this LG Nitro HD. Is this the phone to get? Should you go with the Skyrocket or the Vivid? Or heck, maybe even one of Verizon's LTE offerings? We'll find out starting right now. So regardless of who your favorite Android manufacturer is, be it LG or HTC or even Samsung, it's always good to have choice in the marketplace. Here's the LG Nitro HD. Now this is available from AT&T now for $249.99 with a new 2-year agreement. Apparently we're getting these bursts of text messages from this little party place. So if you want to go to a party, hey, you know, maybe give them a text or something. Some crazy party number keeps texting the demo line. But anyway, AT&T $249.99. It's their third LTE device, and it's packing some pretty reasonable specs. It's got a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor. It has an 8-megapixel camera on back with 1080p HD video recording. It has a front-facing shooter. It's got a 4.5-inch True HD 720p IPS display. So it goes up there with the HTC Rezound and the Galaxy Nexus, and it's the third device to have a true HD display in the United States. So all in all, you know, it's got the specs. It's running Android 2.3.5 with LG's custom user interface, as you can see here. Now this is the same interface, or at least a very similar one to what we saw in the Revolution when it launched on Verizon. And you know, I'll be honest with you right at the beginning of this review, I'm not a fan. I think it's a little bit laggy. I think it's a little bit underdeveloped for a high-end phone. This is the kind of interface I would expect to see on a low-end or mid-range Android phone, not on a high-end phone. High-end, I expect to see Sense, TouchWiz, ones that are really fleshed out as opposed to this. It feels like just a very basic user interface and kind of lagging, kind of clunky as opposed to Sense. But anyway, LG's custom user interface installed on this, and you can see over here, you've got nothing over here on this side. You have a volume rocker over on the left side. Up top, you have your micro USB charging port under this nice little flap, a power button, and then you get your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack as well. So you got your nice LG battery door here, and you've got a texturized battery door as well, so it's easy to hold, and it provides a substantial amount of grip. Now, interestingly enough, this device, and I can't obviously show you this on camera, but the device just doesn't feel up to par, at least in the way it feels in the hand. It's lightweight, which is nice, and it's definitely plasticky, and you're thinking, where? And the Skyrocket's plasticky too. There's a different feel to the Skyrocket and definitely to the Vivid with its metal battery cover and metal accents. Definitely a different feel here as opposed to those two. This thing, this thing feels cheap to me. Even the Samsung one, which is plasticky, doesn't feel as cheap as this one. It just doesn't feel like a $249 handset to me. Now, you know, that's obviously subjective. You may feel differently. Take a look at all three in store and see which design and which form factor and which, you know, the overall materials used, which one appeals to you the most. But what I will say is, out of the LTE devices I've worked with, it just exudes kind of a cheap plasticky feeling to me, more so, way more so than the Samsung devices on the market. But you know, you may be looking for a lightweight device, in which case this may be the device for you. So you can see out of the box here, you get some AT&T stuff, code scanner, family map, navigator, you get Google Books, you get featured applications, you get live TV, my AT&T, quick light, smart share, and then visual voicemail, YP mobile, and then Zynga poker, if poker's your thing. And then you can see I've downloaded speed test, and at some point before part 2 I'll have to download quadrant standard so we can take a look at that in part 2 of the video. But you can see the AT&T typical stuff here. Now, one real benefit that AT&T's done, they've listened to their customers. They realize that people want to be able to uninstall their applications. Not only can you uninstall the AT&T applications, but you can also install third-party apps that aren't in the Android market. So, you know, they really listened to that, you know, from where they came with the backflip, which was the first Android device in AT&T, to now they've really listened to their consumers. Now, you can see down here, you're missing your search button. You get three capacitive buttons, three capacitive buttons, menu, home, and back down here at the bottom. So you don't get the search, and I found that I kept hitting back thinking it was search, because I do use that feature quite a bit but you know, of course, it's not there, so that can provide an issue. So apparently, it's the first Wednesday party of December. Woohoo! So you can see here what the notification bar looks like. Very similar again to the LG Revolution on Verizon. You've got your silent button here. You've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, airplane mode, and then of course I can clear my notifications by clicking there. Now you'll notice the AT&T network identifier stays in the top left-hand corner the entire time, and then you can see the date is replaced where most carriers put their network ID. But you get 7 home screens here. Like I said, Android 2.3.5, and for the most part, it's relatively snappy. You know, that dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor does a good job. Now that said, I've worked with all 3 of AT&T's LTE devices. I've had them in my office for several days, and some of them for weeks since the New York event a few weeks ago with the Vivid and the Skyrocket. And I'll tell you that even though this thing's pretty snappy in most tasks, there is a little bit of a lag from time to time. And another thing I notice is when I scroll through, and I probably can't duplicate it right now, but I'm scrolling and I go to hit, let's say, Gmail, you can see that I have to press it a couple of times to get it to respond. So the touch responsiveness isn't as good as it could be, in my opinion, especially compared to the Skyrocket and the HTC Vivid. But beautiful display, 4.5-inch IPS True HD display, and I'm going to bring up a picture, at least try to come up with a nice HD picture, HD video or something where you can see the quality of this display, because it's absolutely beautiful, and the camera really doesn't do it justice, but you can see here, it's just a great looking display. So if that's something that matters to you, I mean, this is beautiful. This is, you know, TV quality on a phone. So, you know, it's negated by the fact I don't care for the way it feels, and I think LG's interface is a little bit slow, a little bit clunky, but you can really see that's a killer picture on a mobile device. So check that out in the store if you do get a chance to look at all 3 of these in person. Let's take a look at messaging, and we'll jump in here and go to New Message, and we'll scroll right down. You see out of the box you get the Android keyboard. You get a couple of different options actually. You get Android and you get LG's keyboard as well, and of course you can download Swipe and Swift Key and a couple of other options from the Android market. But Android pre-installed out of the box, since the stock gingerbread keyboard, which is the one that I prefer to use. So we can say the busy rumor dog is happy that it is Wednesday. Whoops, Wednesday. And then, of course, just to give you a quick look at what it looks like, I'm going to go back and show you the LG keyboard as well. Not a huge difference from the LG Revolution and some of the other recent LG devices that have their custom skin pre-installed. But there's the LG keyboard, and of course, portrait. And then landscape mode, you've got a big 4.5-inch display. It's pretty easy to type on in either format, but definitely in landscape for somebody with larger thumbs or somebody that's coming from a keyboard device with a physical QWERTY keyboard. You're not really going to have any trouble doing any text messages or things like that. Now that said, it keeps up with me. I haven't had any issues with lag, or at least on the keyboard side. On lag or anything, it seems to keep up with my typing. You know, we can say even the LG one, which, you know, it has some odd spelling correction things, but you know, pretty easy to type on. And then over here, you can get rid of that if you so desire. So messaging interface, again, you know, kind of a threaded text messaging interface. It looks very similar to what we've seen on LG in the past, but I keep going back to this user interface because you can just see here, we'll take a look at the widgets. It just seems very low end, or like something you would see on a low end or mid-range device. I know I keep harping on that, but I think for a lot of you, if you're like me, you either want, you know, a great user interface that's really fleshed out and has gone through several revisions, or, you know, stock Android. I think this is kind of a disappointing thing for a really high-end device like this. So you can see here our widgets, I have battery life, and I have some LG widgets as well. I have music, I have notepad, photo frame, power control, so I can bring that up, and that's an LG widget. And of course, from here, when I press and hold on the display, I can add a widget, I can do a shortcut, a folder, or a wallpaper all from here. So I can change the wallpaper, I can come over here and do another widget if I wanted to, and I can come down here and see the rest of the widgets. World clock, for example, which is the one you can see there. I'll do a world clock, and then I have my current city, and I can select a different city. So you get a lot of different options, or you get a couple of different Android widget options, both from stock Android and from LG. That said, again, it's just not as fleshed out as TouchWiz, as Sense, as Motorola's interface. So if you're used to a UI, you may want to take a look at this before you purchase. But you see, I can do all these customizations, and when I'm done, I just hit the back button, and there you go. The wallpaper's changed, and I've added my widgets to my home screen. So I've got 7 home screens, which I can always, you know, pinch to get out and see all 7 of those, and then I can go from there. So again, you know, like this weather widget, giant. You can't resize it, which if you're like me and you like to be able to resize your widgets, or kind of at least have the option to choose between a big or a small widget, you don't get that option on here. Let's take a look at the browser. You know, this is a 4G LTE device, and 4G for the most part has been performing pretty well in the Charlotte metro area. This is an LTE market on AT&T, one of the 15. So we'll go in here to phonedog.com and take a look and you can see the page loading up right now. Now you get some options down here. Of course, you can add secondary windows by clicking there, and again, you see that kind of little lag that happens from time to time. It just happened right there. But we can add a second page and then go back and say bam. And again, that's what I'm talking about. Just that touchscreen registration. It just seems like it doesn't register your gesture quite as well as the Skyrocket or the Vivid or some of the other Android devices. I just see little lag and little issues like that. So hopefully those will be addressed in a software update in the future. But I will say I saw the same thing on the Revolution. So to me, I'm pretty convinced it's something in LG's user interface. Could be wrong, but that's at least what I'm thinking. So you got your settings here, and then of course, by clicking the plus, you can add it to your most visited or your bookmarks. So we'll come back out here and go into browser, and we're going to go back to PhoneDog, and let's just go back here and do it this way. And then here's our pinch to zoom. Pinch to zoom, relatively responsive, provided there's not a lot running in the background. I haven't really had any huge issues with that. You can see some stutter, but at least no checkerboarding, and it's pretty, for the most part, pretty easy to pinch and zoom in. So there you go. Portrait to landscape transitions nice and fast in the browser as well. And then you can see the logo, and you can see the advertisements. This is flash capable, so you do get that. And yes, and I realize flash is dying, but it's still flash capable, so you can see mobile flash content right now. And again, transitions are pretty quick, and overall the browser is a pretty decent experience.